Good morning. My name is Grace Chan McKibben. I am the Executive Director for Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community. Thank you so much, especially for folks that have been here since 10 a.m. It's been a long morning, but I think that we are very happy that we have both Nicole and Tony Shervino here with us. As you're settling in, can I ask you all to take your cell phones out? Those of you that were here at 10 o'clock, you already know the drill, but take your cell phones out and think about two people that you would like to text. Can be your closest friends, can be somebody that you just want to bother this morning, and remind them that Monday, March 20th is the first day for early voting in the ward, that they can go to a early voting site in their own wards or go downtown or any one of the 50 early voting sites. And then also remind them that April 4th is election day. On election day, they can go to their own precincts or any of the early voting sites, which would be the vote center at that time. So I'll take a couple minutes for you all to settle in, text the people you would like to text, and then turn off your cell phones or turn them down, because we'd like your undivided attention on our guests. So give you a couple minutes to do that. You all are good, you're so quiet. Again, my name is Grace Chan McKibben. I'm the Executive Director for Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community, or CBCAC. CBCAC is a coalition of major service organizations in the Chinese American community, and we aim to empower Chinese Americans in the greater Chicago area through civic engagement and community development. We have organized candidate forums in Chinatown for the past 14 years, and we are very pleased that you are all here today. Just a couple of housekeeping. We are going to present up here in English, and so I'm going to ask my candidates to speak slowly. It's hard for me to speak slowly, so I'm going to try my best as well, so that we can be kind to the interpreters who are doing simultaneous Mandarin and Cantonese interpretation. For folks that are on Zoom, please select Cantonese or Mandarin channels so you can hear the audio in your preferred language. Thank you. Want to acknowledge the many organizations that co-sponsored this event, and they helped by helping us refine the questions, helping us publicize the event, and helping us share information with their members. And thank you so much to our co-sponsors. For folks that have representatives here, if you can wave your hand when I announce your organization, that would be great. Asian Americans Advancing Justice. So, yeah, over there. Chinatown Chamber of Commerce. Mabel. Chinese American Museum of Chicago. Ben is up there helping with translation. Chinese American Service League. Kevin. Chinese Mutual Aid Association. League of Women Voters of Chicago. Midwest Asian Health Association. People Matter, and Project Vision, and Poitex Center. I think David has been here since way before 10 a.m. to help us. Thank you so much. And we want to thank you to our amazing translation team, Caillou, Roylin, Ben, and Tracy. They're all up there helping with Cantonese and Mandarin translation. Thank you to the Chinese Christian Union Church, and especially Simon and Ryan for helping us with the sound system. And thank you to all the volunteers, and most of all, thank you all to the community. Please give yourselves a round of applause for being here, showing up, and caring about our community. Thank you. So how How are you both doing? Great. So we have some prepared questions that we prepared together with the community. We gathered input from folks online as well as folks that have called us or emailed us. And as we mentioned in earlier messages, there will be a 2-minute opening statement for each person. And then for the prepared questions, there are 90 seconds to answer the question. And then if I think that there needs to be some follow-up or clarification, I will ask the follow-up question, and there'll be 60 more seconds, 1 minute, to answer. And you have both seen our friends Andrew and Anna down there. Wave your hands. They will be responsible for keeping time. So there will be 1 minute, 30-second, and time's up warning. So make sure you watch them so that you can time yourselves. And then at the end, there'll be a 2-minute conclusion. We do have enough time today for some questions from the floor, and we'll give some questions, some time for questions on the floor, and they can use this microphone up here. So we have some prepared questions first, and without further ado, we are going to start with the opening statements, and I'm going to ask Mr. Shervino first for your 2-minute opening. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you all for carving some time out. The room is a testament of that this really matters. Thank you so much to all the organizations that Grace mentioned. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for your contributions to not only the Asian American community, but all the communities within the 11th Ward. Thank you. My name is Anthony Tony Shervino. I'm 52 years old. I am a dedicated husband of 21 years to my wife, Michelle, sitting there with the camera with a smile, proud of her hubby. I am a dedicated father of 3 beautiful children, Anthony, Angelo, and Mariella. They are the light of my life. They give me meaning and purpose, especially when I step out of the comfort zone in this arena. They're seeing their father do something very special, and it lets them know that anything is possible. And if you dream it, if you believe it, you could achieve it. And I'm sitting up here in a runoff with an election starting, early voting starting March 20th, and election day April 4th. I am a 30-year active Chicago policeman. I've served and protected the citizens of this city with honor. I loved doing what I do. I want to do it in there's a higher calling here for the community to bring that safety to this community. I have extensive, incredible knowledge in the area. I do consider myself a subject matter expert. The top priority is crime. I said it since day one. Your safety is my concern.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shervino. Alderwoman Lee, now is your turn for your 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Grace and CBCAC and all of the organizations that have hosted. It's an honor for me to be here at CCUC, a church that I've attended myself, to be among so many friends and neighbors. I'm a lifelong resident of Chinatown and Bridgeport, and I can trace my family roots back 4 generations. My parents have been great examples of service to me, both having served this community in different ways. My father has been a public servant and started organizations that helped young people to develop civic skills, learn teamwork, and serve this community. My mother is a 30-year business owner in this community. She may have done some of your grandparents' hair or your mom's or your aunt's. And we're active members of our church, St. Therese at St. Mother of Teresa of Calcutta Church. I'm also a single mom. I'm a single mom of 2 boys, 2 teenage boys that I love dearly, and we are all products of the Chicago public school system. I attended Mark Sheridan in the ward and graduated from Whitney Young High School. I've spent my career in the service of others. It's been my life's work to do good in the world. And in the last 12 months, I've been proud to serve the 11th Ward. And now that will include Chinatown, right where we're sitting. From funding for police and safety and millions of dollars for the ward and progress towards a neighborhood high school, we've been working hard to bring back the resources that are needed for this community. And what's at stake here for everybody is to know that I'm the one candidate with the most experience. I have a year's worth of experience of relationship building, bringing resources back to the ward, working with the community, and more importantly, listening. I have a proven track record that everybody can judge me on, and I ask humbly today that when you go to vote, that you support me on April 4th or early vote on April 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Now to the questions. First question. What do you believe is the most significant challenge facing the city of Chicago, and what is the underlying root cause that needs to be addressed? We will have 90 seconds, and we'll start with Alderwoman Lee and then Mr. Shervino.
Thank you for that, Grace. I'm sorry, I just have to sit up a little bit to read the question. I think everybody agrees that the biggest issue, the most significant challenge facing our city is public safety. And the underlying root causes is something that we have to pay attention to. That is opportunities for every community to be successful. If we want there to be safer streets and less violent crime, we need to look at this as an ecosystem or as like a forest fire that we have to fight. And it's not just one place that we have to do that. We can't bring a water gun to a forest fire. And the police alone cannot do this. What we need to be able to do is to see all of the different angles at which violent crimes are occurring. So making sure that the police have the resources that they need to be able to properly police and enforce the law, as well as looking at the root causes of violent crimes being opportunities for young people in every single corner of the city. Other things that we need to pay attention to are community policing and what role that we as individual citizens have to play. And as I've talked to constituents, that's one of the main messages that I have. We have a role to play big and small, and that starts with reporting crimes. Calls for service drive resources in this city, and that is where everything starts. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Mr. Shervino, 90 seconds, the same question.
Yes, since day one, crime was my top priority and my platform. Your safety is truly my concern. So Alderman Lee opened it up for judgment. With all due respect, I'm going to judge a little bit. Crime is up 40% in the 11th Ward. I'm going to talk specifically to the 11th Ward. Crime's up 40%. Beat 914 in the year 2022 recorded the highest amount of robberies in the entire city. Beat 914 goes from LaSalle to Halsted, 31st Street to 18th. It's the bread and butter. Chinatown, Bridgeport, Armour Square, right? We need to pay attention. Pay attention to what I'm saying. 25% of them, there's been 1,000 from March to March. There's been 1,000 high-index crimes. Those are murders, robberies, armed robberies, carjackings happening here on our streets, to our neighbors, to our families. Something needs to be done. Someone with subject matter expert experience needs to be the leader of this community to make each other safe. There needs to be a stationary car, a directive patrol car, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, sitting at the red line on 22nd and Cermak, so the bad guy can't escape to the highway. We stop him. We stop crime before it happens. Sorry, I got 90 seconds. Beat 914 is where Alderman Lee lives. It's right under her nose. I don't know if that's sleeping on the job, but lives are at stake and it can't be done.
Thank you, Mr. Shervino. Moving on to the second question. The 11th Ward is the first Asian American majority ward. How will you incorporate the views and concerns of that diverse community, of the diverse community that you represent, into decision-making around city council policies? And we are going to have Mr. Shervino first. Thank you, 90 seconds.
Thank you. Let me first say that this isn't about race. This isn't about religion. This isn't about the color of your skin. This is about the safety for all. This is about businesses thriving for all. The Asian American community, I grew up there. My teenage years were spent hanging out there. I did basketball camps for the Dragons for Mr. Lee through my teenage years. I've been everywhere, on every square inch of this community. My basketball club represents all colors, all shades, United Nations. It's community engagement. It's actively listening. It's working with the community, coalitions, partnerships, with the business community, with the chamber. Thank you so much for everything you do. It's working with everyone to make sure that everyone thrives, not succeeds. People put 15, 16 hours a day in. Put that 15, 16 hours a day. You need a leader that's going to give you the resources, that's going to give you the guidance, that's going to hold your hand when you need it to be held. And that leader's me.
Thank you, Mr. Shervino. Alderwoman Lee, the same question, and you have 90 seconds.
The 11th ward being the first Asian American majority ward is historic. And I want to thank every single person in this room, including yourself, Grace, for all of the hard work that you did to make that happen. And that didn't come. Representation matters. We have not had representation on the city council in the 185-year history of the city of Chicago. And after 157 years of being in this city, we finally have that. We have the opportunity now to elect somebody from our community that understands the unique needs of the majority of the people in this ward. And that's not to say that I have also not been in every corner of this ward. I am born and raised here, 4 generations here as well. I attended public school in this community. I attend every single CAPS meeting as well. We talk about community policing. I haven't seen yet one of those yet, sir. And public safety is important. And the way we will incorporate views, the way we will incorporate the views and concerns of a diverse community is exactly how I've been doing it for the last 12 months. Going to every single door, knocking on every single door and listening to what people's concerns are. Safety is at the top of that, but that is not the only issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. I am really happy to see that there's a bunch of engaged residents right here, but if you can keep your applauses and so on down a little bit so that we can hear what the candidates have to say, that would be great. Thanks. So moving on to the next question, thank you. It is about the Aldermanic money menu. Yeah, can we move to the next question? Number 3. Thank you. Given the $1.5 million a year Aldermanic menu money, how do you prioritize spending to address the most critical needs of our community? And this question will have Alderwoman Lee address first. 90 seconds. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. $1.5 million is not very much money. And there are needs across this ward. No matter how big or small a ward is, we get the same amount of money. And in the last 12 months, I had to learn very quickly how to best prioritize those. And one of the first ways that I do that is taking a look at the resources that we already get from the city that prioritizes the worst roads and streets on in our ward. In addition to that, I look at the age of the request. People put things on the menu to request services for infrastructure needs, so potholes, alleys, sidewalks. I think we have to make sure that we are ensuring that the repairs are getting made across the ward and not in one particular area. One of the things that I am committed to, and that I committed to at your forum last time, is participatory budgeting. And that is one of the things that we will implement during my first elected term to ensure that from every corner of this ward there is inclusion of different voices and different geographies about how to prioritize funding for the ward infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Mr. Shervino.
Inclusivity and prioritizing are keys to that menu and how we spend it. But we need to keep every dollar here in our community. The current alderman voted on a red line extension. Mayor Lightfoot proposed a red line extension project that is going to go from 95th Street to 130th out to Altgeld Gardens. This is money that's being diverted miles and miles away, taking money out of our pockets, taking money that could be spent here, along with our menu money, that we could benefit from. None of us are going to benefit in the 11th Ward from a red line extension project that's going from 95th to 130th. That wasn't our voice. That wasn't the voice of the people that she serves. I would have openly, publicly opposed and said no to Mayor Lightfoot on that as a voice for my people. Thank you.
Grace, can I give a rebuttal to that? Because I actually didn't hear an answer to the question.
Okay, I will. Well, actually, there's another.
That's the answer. We keep more money for us so that we benefit. We spend our $1.5 million here on top of other money that we're diverting away, miles away, that we're never going to benefit from. That's the answer.
We have a
physical infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. We have another question on the red line TIF, so if you can both hold your responses at that time, that would be great. So we'll move on to the next question first, and then we'll come back to that topic. The next prepared question is, with rent and property taxes on the rise, what steps would your administration take to ensure that residents can stay in their homes? And we're going to ask Mr. Trevino to answer that first, and then Alderwoman Lee. Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
90 seconds.
Thank you so much. The 4 steps in my action plan for public safety: crime reduction. Crime reduction is key. We reduce the crime. We bring businesses back. We fill the ugly, filthy, despicable vacant properties along Halsted Street and Archer Avenue. We bring these businesses back. Businesses come back. Taxes get lowered. Property taxes are up between 24 and 34%, and in some areas 40%. How does a working man handle that? How is he not forced to fold his cards, to sell his home? Because he's got to put food on the table. We need lower taxes, and that comes from lowering crime, bringing businesses back to our community, and the taxes get lowered, and things are more affordable.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Alderwoman Lee?
If you're a property owner anywhere in the city of Chicago in the last few months, you received probably a more significantly higher property tax bill due to your assessed values going up. My own parents' bill went up 60%, 60. This is a real challenge facing every resident of the city of Chicago, whether you're a property owner or not. Because if you're a property owner and you own rental property, you're raising your rents. That means it's tougher on working families. This is an issue that is a serious one, and I will tell you about the things that I've done in the last 12 months as alderman to help people ensure that they are getting the exemptions that they are entitled to. If you are a senior, if you are a veteran, working with our county counterparts at the Board of Review and the Cook County Assessor's Office to appeal taxes. The city doesn't control how assessed values are determined. There is a property tax levy, and this year we didn't have an increase. This is an issue that everybody is facing right now, and the best thing that we can do to help our constituents is to make sure that they're getting every single opportunity to appeal their taxes, to lower their liability, and ensure that their exemptions are had. That's the job of the alderman. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Question number 5. As alderman, how do you envision collaborating with the 9th District Police Office, the district commander, the newly formed district police councils, and the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability to improve public safety outcomes in the ward? And we'll have Alderwoman Lee first, and then Mr. Trevino. 90 seconds.
I don't have to envision anything because I've been doing it for the last 12 months. I have regular conversations with the 9th District Police Commander, Don Jerome, As I mentioned earlier, my staff and I have attended 100% of the CAPS meetings that have happened in the 9th District beats since I started.
You have to. You're the alderman.
I actually don't have to.
All aldermen have to.
I'm sorry, this is my time?
Let Alderwoman Lee have her time.
Wow.
Thank you.
Again, my time.
Yes, it
If
is
I
her
can
time.
grab a few
Yes.
more seconds, that would be really appreciated.
A few more seconds.
Yeah,
Please go.
respectfully, going to CAPS meetings is not something that is required, and it is something that I do happily and excitedly. I go and I listen to constituents and what they're looking for and what their concerns are. I work with the CAPS officers, from seniors to the ones that are working the beats. We're listening every single time, and we are reacting. In fact, in Canaryville, when there was a problem with gangs heating up on the street, we worked together with the 9th District, with the residents, holding separate meetings in our office to determine how we could best support them and get the resources that we needed there. And that resulted in a calming. After a shooting, nothing since then. That's been 6 months. Working alongside the Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, accountability is something that's very important. We want a police force that's going to be there to answer the calls when we need them, but we also need accountability. And I'm confident that these new police commissions will do just that, bringing all of the community voices together to make sure that we are addressing all of the needs from every corner of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Mr. Shervino.
With all due respect, Alderman Lee, I've done this over my nearly 3 decades, worked closely with what we call the DAC. Now it's elected officials on this community commission. I'm very well versed. I have deep-rooted relationships. I've sat at the table. I've been involved with decisions, both with CAPS, with the community orientation, let's get right down to it, okay? This is about, give me 1 second here, because I'm a little fired up. This is about advocating, all right? Advocating. A good alderman is at all the meetings. All the good aldermen are at the meetings. It is a prerequisite. Let that be known. Let that be written, okay? Advocating is going above and beyond the call of duty. It's going above and beyond the call of duty. Advocation is not just showing up at a beat meeting. Advocating is working on real solutions to robberies on beat 14, the highest in the entire city. We need to work together with our commanders. How in 12 months, March through March, in 12 months, how is there just an extra police car on beat 914? Why isn't there that patrol car, that stationary directive patrol?
Time's
Why
up.
isn't there missions?
Thank you,
Why
Mr.
isn't there
Shervino.
more cameras? Why isn't
Mr.
there demand
Shervino,
on the 5th floor at City Hall?
Your time
Why-
is up. Thank you.
Why isn't there demand at 35th and
Thank you
Michigan
very
by
much.
Superintendent Brown?
Thank you very much. Your
Follow-
90 seconds
We
is
deserve
up.
better.
Thank you. We will
Following
move on
rules
to
is
the
not
next
something
question.
that, no.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. Thank you very much. This is the question about TIF. So given that significant portions of Chinatown and Bridgeport were included in the Red Line TIF, rather the Red Line Extension TIF, how would you fund infrastructure needs and other projects in the area where TIF money is allocated for the Red Line Extension? And what criteria will you have for projects that TIF money should be used to support? Mr. Shervino first, 90 seconds.
Thank you. The Red Line TIF, if it was a voice for the people that Alderman Lee serves, she would have openly and publicly denounced and said no, like Alderman Riley and Alderman Dowell did on behalf of her people. She would have stood up strong and said no. She was appointed by Mayor Lightfoot. It's hard to oppose the person that gives you the job, right? So here we talk about the TIF. Let's talk about TIFs. Let's talk about the 35th and Halsted TIF. That our property tax, 83% of our property tax goes toward 35th and Halsted. And it is not a viable business district. It should be a booming business district. It's a mile away from one of the best major league ball clubs, the White Sox, in the major leagues. It should be the most attractive neighborhood. It should be the most attractive business district in the whole city. We're in such close proximity to downtown Chicago, to the major transportation hubs. We need, it should be sought after, not only from people in the Chicagoland area, but people from around the country. They should be seeking 35th and Halsted. It should be beautiful. It shouldn't have garbage riddled all along the curb lanes. On Halsted proper, on 35th Street proper, along the viaducts throughout the city. Where is that 83% going? Is it being misappropriated? Is it being disinvested? Where is it at? Where's it going? Why isn't it a booming, viable business district?
Thank you, Mr. Cervino. Alderwoman Lee, the same question, 90 seconds. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. And if I may, I'll just take a little bit of my time to respond to my opponent here. Yes, I was appointed by Mayor Lightfoot. I was one of 27 applicants, of which you were also an applicant. Just wanted to point that out.
And Grace Chan McKibben was a committee member. Did you forget that?
No.
Grace Chan McKibben was a committee member giving the recommendation to Mayor Lightfoot.
Only point I'm trying to make is that you applied for the same job, and had you received the job and the appointment, you'd be in the same position. On the red line extension, because that is what the question is about, I'm proud to have voted for that red line extension. That is 6,000 jobs, union-paying jobs, including people that live right here in the 11th Ward. The 11th Ward, until probably in the last couple of months, I had no control over, because it was part of the 25th Ward. And yet, I continued to advocate for things in Chinatown. Why? Because this is my community. I live here, whether or not the border is across the street from my house. And how TIF money is allocated and how we're going to use that, the criteria that we're going to use, first of all, the red line extension TIF can only be used for the red line extension. So that's a little bit of a trick question there. I'll answer more. I know I'm running out of time. If there's a follow-up, Grace, please ask it and I will answer.
Thank you. I think I'm not going to ask a follow-up for right now because of time. We'll go on to the last question, which will be our last prepared question so that we can have time for the audience to ask their questions. So here's the last prepared question. And here it is. Question number 7. How will you bring more support and resources to the business corridors in the 11th Ward while protecting the 11th Ward from gentrification and rising taxes? And this is for Alderwoman Lee first and then Mr. Cervino. 90 seconds.
This is a really interesting and tough balance. To bring more resources into the business quarters, because we want everybody that lives in this community, every single person that I have talked to over the last 12 months, we want good things in our community. We want a walkable neighborhood. We want there to be stores that we can walk to and more hustle and bustle in all of our business corridors, not just Halsted, but Archer and 35th Street now that McKinley Park is back in the ward. So we can't look at this on sort of a block by block basis. What we've got to do is we've got to take a look at what it's going to take to attract business here, and part of that is density. And density is a tough conversation to have because there's a lot of fear and a lot of fear-mongering that goes on about outsiders coming in. Our community has been growing and it has been changing. It's been changing for a long time, and I think some people are afraid of that change. But to have the things that we want, and I want to talk to people about the things that they want. I don't know it all, and nor should I. I want to engage the entire community about the things that we've always wanted that we've never had. We have 10 years with this new map, but that's going to require some balance and some discipline as well, because we live in a great ward with access to high volume transit, and with equitable transit oriented design, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to take more cars. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. I was told by the translation team that we all need to speak slower, and I know that I I don't remember that, so just a reminder for all of us. Mr. Shervino, the same question, 90 seconds. Thank you.
Yes, this is a great question. We need to do whatever we can, and that is being plugged in. It's that partnership, it's that collaboration, it's that coalition. It is what Alderman Lee said, meaningful community relationship, meaningful business relationships. That's staying in regular contact, keeping our finger on the pulse for what is needed in that community through the Chamber of Commerce, through the other Chinese organizations within Chinatown, because we don't know it all, and we need to know it all, and we need to actively listen to what is needed, and we need to knock down every door and shake every tree to help the existing businesses thrive, to give them the resources, the small businesses, give them the resources that they need to survive, to attract new business into the area, thank you, to attract the new businesses into the area. The proximity to downtown Chicago is a big selling point. Now we have to know developers, investors, realtor associations, they're chomping at the bit with our proximity to downtown Chicago and to the major transportation hubs. They're not moving until crime goes down. I know it. I'm plugged into them. They're ready to hit the ground running with me on April 4th, if I have your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shervino. We received a lot of questions from folks that emailed us and folks that submitted the online Google form, so we are not able to ask all of the questions. But I do want to give enough time for audience questions. And if anyone is prepared to ask questions, please come up to this mic up in the middle here. I think Vivian Zhang is helping. I'm sorry, what do you need?
Do you want to do audience first or closing statement first?
Let's do closing statements first, and we'll have the audience folks wait, yeah. Let's go to 2-minute closing statement, and then we'll do audience questions, if that's okay with you all?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we had Mr. Shervino start first, so we should have Alderwoman Lee start with her closing statement, and then Mr. Shervino, 2 minutes.
And I'll try to keep it slow paced for the folks up in the translation booth, sorry. I've been so proud to serve as the 11th Ward Alderman for the last 12 months. I've learned a lot, we've accomplished a lot, and there's a lot to be proud of, but there is so much more work to be done. I want to build on that. I want to build on every single relationship that I've started to build in the last 12 months with department heads, with my colleagues, with you as members of the community. I've been a lifelong resident of Chinatown and Bridgeport. There's no place I'd rather be to raise my children so that they have a community that's going to be there for them. This community has given me so much, and I owe it so much, and that's what I'm here to do. I ask for your support so that I can continue the good work that we've already been doing, and together we're going to make this a safer community, a place where kids have good educational opportunities, where it's safe for our seniors and our kids to walk around, and where businesses can thrive, and where people all want to be, because we are the best ward in the city of Chicago, the most diverse and inclusive anywhere. And we are making history together. Make history with me, and I hope I can count on your vote. On April 4th, early voting starts on March 20th. Thank you to each and every one of you who has already given me your support. And if there's anything else that you want to ask, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Mr. Shervino, 2 minutes for your close.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm more comfortable standing. I think it's the coach in me. I have to say, for those of you who walked in a little late, my name is Anthony Tony Shervino. I am a lifelong resident of this ward. My family, my father's sitting right there, very proud of him, 81 years old. Our family has been here over 100 years of deeply embedded generational roots. My love and my passion for this neighborhood is second to none. That is why I'm running. I'm running because I'm very concerned with the future of the 11th Ward. I'm very concerned with the crime that has risen to 40%. I'm really concerned with our present alderman, who says that she's advocating by going to beat meetings, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. What has she done in crime reduction? And what will she do moving forward? And in her defense, she doesn't know. She really doesn't know. She works with the commander. I have extensive knowledge and experience, 30 years as a policeman. I have extensive knowledge and experience of the police culture, of police policy, of Chicago Police General Orders and Special Orders. I have deep-rooted relationships. I am ready to hit the ground running. Why hasn't there been any missions on Beat 914? Led the city in robberies? That's a problem. It's unacceptable. Lives are at stake. People are being murdered. Family members, neighbors, friends. They're being carjacked. They're being armed robbed. They're being aggravated batteries. People are experiencing violent, traumatic crimes, and it needs to stop now.
Thank you, Mr. Servino. Thank you. We'll move on to audience questions. And I would like to ask folks to keep to 90 seconds for your questions, and please ask a question and don't make statements, and that would help us a lot with time here.
好多謝今日你哋兩位。
I will translate for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Miss, can you? Yeah, you're going to speak in Cantonese, right?
OK 係
Yeah.
係好多謝你哋兩位區長候選人今日嚟到幫我哋解釋咁多你哋嘅政綱，同埋聽取我哋大家嘅意見。我係黃鄧西健，我喺呢個11區住咗30年。咁今日咧，我亦帶咗好多老人家嗱，你哋睇到佢哋有啲多數都係70、80、90，甚至係有8歲嘅老人嘅，所以我想代表佢哋問一問一個問題，佢哋都係啲好需要語言幫助嘅老人家。咁我嘅問題咧就係、你將採取乜嘢具體嘅措施，保證芝加哥市變得更加包容、便利，尤其係喺語言資源嘅問題上。
Okay. 係，問完啦嗬。
係。
Okay, I'm going to translate. I'm sorry if I missed some things. Thank you to the two Aldermanic candidates for being here, listening to our concerns and answering our questions. My name is Huang Den-Sijen, and I've lived in the 11th Ward for 30 years. I've brought many seniors with me today. Their ages range from 70, 80, up to 100 years old. And they are, language access is very important to them. So I'd like to represent them and ask, what concrete steps will you make to make the city of Chicago a diverse and inclusive community? And we'll have Mr. Servino answer first, and it'll be 90 seconds, and then Alderwoman Lee. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Thank you. And that's Sheshe, right? Yes. Sheshe. Okay. We're already the leader. I think Alderman Lee said it already. We're one of the most inclusive and one of the most diverse neighborhoods, if not the most diverse and inclusive neighborhoods in the whole city of Chicago. Let's hear it for us. Absolutely. We need to showcase that at every turn. We need to showcase our diversity with fairs and street fairs, street festivals, and we need to do more of that, especially after COVID. We need to just, the Asian American community, the Hispanic community, the white community, the African American communities. We need to showcase our traditions, our religions, our cultures, our food, amazing food in Chinatown, amazing food, the Italian food in Bridgeport, amazing food in McKinley, Mexican food. Just we need to really showcase that and attract more people here. Thank you.
Are you going to translate for
Thank
her,
you,
the
Mr.
answer?
Shavino. 黃太要唔要翻譯啊？
好啊，唔該，因為我哋好多老人家係需要聽下佢哋嘅回答。
OK，我係總括一下，Shavino 先生咧就話係希望咧，我哋唐人街有好多唔同嘅項目，包括有食物在內，即係希望可以咧係具體咁樣支持啲餐館，可以令佢哋可以更加得到呢啲餐飲嘅資源。
好似我仲想更進一步，即係具體啲問，咁喺語言嘅方面，你哋有乜嘢可以具體幫到我哋呢啲老人家呢？
She wants to ask specifically what language access resources you would put in place to help the seniors. 30 seconds, and because I need to move to Alderwoman Lee. Mr. Shavino, Mrs. Wong wants to know specifically what language resources. Yeah, 30 seconds.
Thank you for the question. It starts with an office that looks like my basketball club, like the United Nations. The office has to be diverse. It has to be a reflection of the ward. There has to be Hispanic, there has to be white, there has to be African American, there has to be Asian American in that office, all bilingual and able to help anyone who needs help with translation.
Thank you, Mr. Shavino. Shavino 先生咧就話從佢自己嘅辦公室開始，應該咧就係可以反映到成個區嘅，包括辦公室嘅職員，包括應該有拉丁裔，應該有白人，應該有黑人，同埋應該有亞裔，應該全部都需要雙語，咁就可以俾到雙語嘅服務。
Thank you。
Thank you.
唔該曬。
Good.
Yeah, Alderwoman Lee, same question about language resource. Same question about what concrete steps will you take to make the city of Chicago inclusive, diverse and inclusive?
Thank you for the question. And I'm going to talk about what I've been doing for the last 12 months in office. But I want to share a little story with you because it's a story that should resonate with so many people in this room about how important language access is. You hear two people talk a lot about meeting people where they are. And if you can't meet them where they are, they're not likely to tell you what they need. This is why language access is so vitally important to a community like ours, as diverse as it is, try to say that 10 times fast, with different languages being spoken. Ms. Wong spoke Cantonese. Tony thanked her in Mandarin. There's many different dialects here, so you can't assume that we are all alike. What my office has already done, I didn't tell you the story. My great-grandmother didn't speak a word of English. And oftentimes I would go with her to church, and then we would go out to eat. And if I wasn't there to communicate for her in some cases, she wouldn't have been able to communicate with others in English. This is a role that many children play in their families. And what I've already done with language accessibility is I have we speak Mandarin, Cantonese, and Spanish in my office. I am advocating every day at City Council for all city services to be available in Chinese, traditional Chinese, so that we can have people access that. And moving forward, I'm committed to ensuring that all of the ward communications are done in a trilingual way, Spanish, English, and Chinese. Thank you.
Thank you。多謝。
多謝。李慧華區長咧就話佢要講一個故事。佢第一咧就話佢過去12個月已經做咗呢啲嘢。要講一個故事咧，就係佢自己嘅祖母係唔識英文，咁去教堂乜嘢都需要翻譯。咁所以咧佢係從佢上任之內就已經係做到係喺市議會嗰度鼓吹所有市議會嗰啲 嗰啲文件同埋啲所有市議會出嘅所有嘅宣告等等咧，都需要有西班牙語同埋英語同埋中文。咁佢自己嘅辦公室咧亦都有講廣東話、普通話同埋西班牙語嘅職員。
Thank you， 多謝。
多謝晒。
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Next question.
Hi, my name is Matt Malik. Thank you to both candidates for attending. Wanted to ask a question about road safety specifically. So Chinatown has one of the highest rates of car-free households in the whole city, with 40% of households not owning a car. With that in mind, what specific policies do you plan to implement to improve road safety for pedestrians and cyclists, particularly in areas where car ownership is relatively low?
Thank you. We'll have Alderwoman Lee answer first, 90 seconds, and then Mr. Shervino about road safety.
Thanks for the question, Matt. Specifically around road safety in the area where we're sitting right now, policies that we're already exploring with the menu for this year is how do we create more protected bike lanes. We've tragically had a death and a subsequent accident at 26th and Stewart. And that wasn't anything that could actually be helped by a protected bike lane, sadly. That was a driver who was not paying attention. So I think that we have to approach not only the infrastructure piece of it, but the education piece of it. I actually just co-sponsored an ordinance at the city level with one of my colleagues, Andre Vasquez, to recognize that bicyclists also have the right to be on the road. Surprisingly, that was not already the case. So we have to share the road. And lots of seniors, especially in this community, ride their bicycles. I see them all the time riding with groceries. We need to be able to create more protected bike lanes and lower the speed limits in and around these areas where there are fewer cars and more pedestrians, schools, and parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Mr. Shervino, the same question about how to ensure road safety in the ward.
Absolutely. One life. In my profession, one life is too many. Safety is of paramount importance. I agree with being educated. I agree with a deep dive into the stats that you were just mentioning, and sitting down and having other aldermen on board as well, taking that deep dive to ensure that bikers, bicyclists are safe, and that there are protected lanes for them, and there is lowered speed limits, and whatever else is necessary to ensure the safety of the bicyclists. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Next question. So there was a question about how many floor questions we'll take. We had scheduled the Aldermanic Forum to run until 12:30, so we'll try to take as many floor questions as possible. Looks like we may be able to accommodate everybody that's standing online right now, but yeah, let's see.
So I'm going to ask about the Near South High School. Both of you support it, but there's some talk that before the high school could be built, that it has to accommodate or protect some nearby high schools. And so I want your opinion about that. But also, when Mayor Emanuel approved the Westside High School, one of the early things that Mayor Lightfoot did was decide that the near Westside would not get a high school. So also in your response, can you just talk about how you're going to convince the next mayor, whoever it is, that the high school is really needed?
Taking that one first.
Thank you. We will have Mr. Shervino answer first, and then Alderwoman Lee, 90 seconds.
I do not think it's going to take much coaxing or coercing. We are in a high school desert. There is nothing viable as far as high schools near us. There's people actually moving so they could be closer to maybe a Lane Tech. Because if you don't, Jones College Prep is the closest high school viable high school, CPS high school. Of course, there's private options, right? Private options aren't an option for some people. It's not affordable. So the CPS option, we're in a desert. If you don't get into Jones College Prep, which is selective, very hard to get into, And if you get in a lane, it's a long commute. If you get into a Northside Prep, if you get into a Whitney Young, that's a little closer, but it's still far away. It's still a commute. We need a high school here, and I support it 100%. And the next mayor, hopefully he supports it as well, and we get it done.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Alderwoman Lee.
David, I just want to make sure I understand your question. Can you just ask it one more time, just very quickly?
But it's also about how you can work with the mayor, because $150 million for a high school is not a popular idea. And so I think we're in a fight for it, even though Chinatown's been pushing for 10 years. And so how are you going to convince the mayor who sees needs all over the city? How are you going to get them to fund this very important thing? We could say that there's a desert. We've been saying it, but CPS and the mayor's office hasn't done anything until now. So how do we not lose the high school?
Right, and thank you. And thank you, David, for all the work that you've been doing personally over the course of the last decade and then some to help bring a high school to Chinatown and Bridgeport and for this community. There's no doubt. There's not a doubt in anybody's mind about the need for a high school. And that has existed for a long time. And David's right. That need has existed for decades. The difference that is now is all of you sitting in this room and everybody who has come together to raise their voices about the need and that it has to be now. We will not wait another 20 years to have this conversation. This is a school. You can clap, that's great. This is a school that's been needed. The demographics have been shifting here. We've had growth in the community such that we have the demand to meet that. But we can't do that in isolation of the other schools that are here as well. We have to look at the CPS problems, the problems that CPS has, and we have to fund the schools that we already have sufficiently. And we need to build a high school for this near South community that deserves it. We deserve it, and we deserve to have a school designed for the needs, the unique needs of this community. And I will work with whoever is in office to appeal to them and raise these voices and bring them with me, because there's power in all of these numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee.
Thank you both.
Next question. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you both for your time. In addition to this election, we have a very critical mayoral election coming up. Tony, throughout your entire campaign, you've been vocal about your support for Paul Vallis. Alderwoman Lee, it wasn't until days ago that you endorsed Paul Vallis publicly. Can each of you elaborate on why you're supporting Paul Vallis, and if elected alderman, how you plan to work alongside Mr. Vallis or Mr. Johnson to make better change in our ward specifically?
Thank you. We'll have Alderwoman Lee first and then Mr. Trevino. 90 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm very proud to be endorsed by Paul Vallis, and I was proud to endorse him. Public safety and the safety of our community and the safety of the city of Chicago is the highest priority. And I believe that he has the best plan to ensure that his plans for public safety are fully resourced, and that we're not only going to make sure that we have enough police on the streets, but that we are looking at other options to increase public safety, whether that be community policing or making sure that there are opportunities for youth. His is the plan that I believe is the best one.
Mr. Trevino.
As I said earlier, I'm very concerned with the future of our city. I've known Paul Vallis for 30 years, for 3 decades. I worked under him. He was the director of budget in 1993. I was an investigator under Paul Vallis. I believe that he is the right man to fix the city's problems. I believed it since day one, even before our name was on the ballot. This recent endorsement of each other is pretty much a shock to me. Brandon Johnson is endorsed by SEIU. They're his biggest donor. SEIU is one of Nicole Lee's biggest donors at $48,000. So I'm not seeing where the endorsement comes in and where the acceptance of $48,000 from SEIU. But I know Paul Vallis and I are aligned. Our alignment with our top priority since day one was public safety, and we're going to get the job done together. We got a plan of action that we've actually worked on prior to us being on the ballot. And it's about being proactive. It's about beat integrity. It's about identifying crime problems and stopping crime before it happens, putting missions together where those crimes are happening. Paul Vallis, if you look at his website, you'll see his plan of action, and you'll see it's go to my website and look at my plan of action. It's almost as if they're one over the other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Servino.
Thank you both.
I'm looking at the time. We have 5 people in line. We can definitely take the first 2 people, and then we'll see. Don't be offended if I cut you off. So, Shifa, you're next.
Hey, my name is Shifa. Thank you for everybody for being here today. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Tony. I just got here. I come here 13 years ago with my family, and we need to vote again on April 4th. So my question for you two would be, after April 4th, we only gonna have one winner, and how do you guys tend to work together to bring 11 awards together, specifically Chinatown and Bridgeport?
Thank you. We'll have Mr. Servino first, and then Alderwoman Lee.
I'm trying, if I win, how Alderman Lee would work alongside me, and if Alderman Lee wins, how I would work alongside her to benefit the 11th Ward or the Asian American community. I'm a little confused, because you did say Asian American community, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to
Yeah,
be
why
sure
don't
on the
you clarify?
question.
Yeah, I just want to see how do you guys plan to work together after the election is out. We live here, so I just want to see how do you guys planning to work together after the election.
I think it's a
It's like no.
smooth transition. I think it's a seamless transition, and if she wins, I'm vested in this community. We both shared our love and passion for the community and the generations that we've lived here. Whatever is needed from me, and even if it's collaboration where there's a task force for public safety, I'd be more than willing to bring my experience and knowledge along with her administration, as I would hope she would bring her knowledge and experience in her niches into my administration for what's best for all in the 11th Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Servino. Alderwoman Lee.
For those of you who have lived in the ward and in Chicago for any large amount of time, if you're a lifelong resident, I think most of us can agree that this election cycle has been one of the most contentious in recent history. There's going to be a lot of healing that needs to happen in this ward after this election is done. Things have gotten ugly. People have questioned loyalty. People have been bullied. We don't need that. We don't need any more of that in this ward. And I think in order for us to be and reach our biggest potential, we have to do that together. So that means coming together, working together for the betterment of this ward, which I know that we are both committed to. And I think that's how we get there. I've been building coalitions my entire life. I've been doing that in the Asian American community, in other things that I've done in nonprofit. And it's about relating to people as human beings. We all want safety. We all want good things for our families. We want people to be healthy. We want them to be safe. We want educational opportunities. We want business opportunities. Those are the things that unite us. We're not going to agree on everything, but we can move forward if we come together on the things that we know will help move this community forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Next question.
Hello, how are you? My name is Lou Jimenez. I've been in this ward for over 40 years. I'm a retired Chicago police officer, a U.S. Marine, and I take safety and accountability very serious. My question, I've heard politicians make many promises locally and nationally, and most of the time that doesn't pan out. So I'm big on accountability and your record of what you've done. The biggest thing for me where I'm at on Ashland and Archer is drag racing. Drag racing brings a lot of other crime with it, and multiple people have died on those streets being hit by cars. So my question to you, Alderman Lee, is why did it take so long to address this drag racing issue, which is huge, all night, every weekend? And what do you plan on doing with that if you're elected again? And Ms. Shervini, I would like to ask, what would be your plan to address horrible drag racing that's going on in that neighborhood?
Thank you. We'll have Alderwoman Lee respond first and then Mr. Shervino, and I think this will be the last question. So go ahead.
Thank you.
Lou, thank you for your question and thank you for your service, both as a Marine and as a Chicago police officer. I can hear the drag racing where I live too. And I know that it's a big problem, and unfortunately, it's a problem that's happening citywide. And the city and the police have been struggling to address this. A lot of the people that are coming in to do drag racing are not actually from the city. A lot of what we have going on is people coming in from the outside. So one of the things as a city council that we did this last year was introduce an ordinance so that if the police have video evidence where we can read a license plate and you're engaged in the drag racing, we can impound your car and levy fines on you. So there are a certain number of things as a city council that we can do, but laws also have to change. Laws that go beyond the city of Chicago that will prevent people or make it more, well, we need a bigger stick, right? There isn't enough consequence for this right now, and the police, with the shortages that we have, aren't able to, when they're swarmed by 100 cars, to affect any real change safely in that environment. We don't want police officers to put their lives at stake when there's a gang of 100 cars that are surrounding them. And that is a very frustrating place to be. And I'm here to continue to work with my colleagues and people at the state legislative level as well to address these issues. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Mr. Shervino.
Thanks for the question, Lou. Like I said, one life is too many. My previous position with the police department, I was the business liaison for the 1st District, which is the central business district. We had a huge problem. I'm sure you've seen videos of the drag racing in Lower Wacker Drive, all the way out to Lower Wacker over by Randolph and Harbor Drive. It's a huge problem. It's an ongoing problem, chronic problem. I worked very closely with Alderman Riley's office on strategies, and I mean, till we were blue in the face strategies. I was actually down there with our bike teams, with our area central, our central business district bike teams, up to 50 officers down there at one point. It is enforcement, it is ordinances, it is impounding cars. We do have tools in our tool belt, and we've had some really, really good outcomes. And I would adopt some of those good outcomes and bring them here to our streets to affect some change and to save lives at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shervino. That's all the time that we have for questions. Please give another round of applause for both of our candidates. Thank you for coming today to answer questions. You can come up and ask the candidates more questions if you'd like, but I want to give a shout out first to CBCAC has produced a bilingual English-Chinese voter guide. Check that out. Grab a copy, grab some extra copies from out front if you want to. If you have any questions about the election, where to vote, where your polling place is, how to register, how to vote by mail, and so on, grab any one of our volunteers with the CBCAC name tag. Also, Ms. Jane Lau, who is in charge of Chinese voter outreach, is out front, and she can answer questions from the Chicago Board of Elections. And I thank you all for joining today, and thank you. Perfect. Mr. Shervino does have a translator, so if anyone wants to speak to him, he can speak through a translator. Thank you.